Hello and welcome, my name is Adrian, and this is Rabona TV's wrap-up of everything that happened in the Champions League this week. And a thank you to our sponsors, OneFootball, for helping produce this video. If you aren't familiar, OneFootball is the best app in the game, which allows you to customize your newsfeed to the competitions and teams you care about, get breaking news from said newsfeed, keep up with matches on the go with their detailed live tickers, watch highlights, and so much more. Link in the description for a free download on iOS and Android. We'll get things started with our Tuesday matches, and Borussia Dortmund had a mountain to climb at home to Spurs, especially when you consider the form that the black and yellow are in. Leaky defense, misfiring forwards, they've got it all. They started incredibly well though, and if it wasn't for Jan Vertonghen's heroics, and once again, by the way, bailing out Davinson Sanchez, then Marco Reus would have likely put Dortmund ahead early, and it would have been game on from there. But Tottenham's defense was quite impressive in this one. It's well documented that Hugo Lloris is an incredible shot stopper, though he can take a night off now and then and have a shocker. But on this occasion, he was solid, and the players in front of him were absolute warriors, man. The amount of opportunities that were blocked by the Spurs defense was impressive. 7 Dortmund shots didn't make it to Lloris thanks to the bravery of the defenders, and when they did get through, Lloris was there to block it. 7 saves on the night for him and a man of the match performance. That's 14 strikes that were either blocked or saved. After Dortmund started so brightly, however, their performance tailed off in the second half, and Kane made them pay for that in the 48th minute. Kane needed just 2 attempts on goal to put one past Berkey in this one. 2 strikes, 1 goal. Dortmund had 7 in the lead up to Spurs getting that killer away goal, and the tie was beyond over at that point, with Dortmund needing to score, 5 goals without conceding in order to move on? Not likely, and not happening on the day. Not with the form that Tottenham's rearguard was in, and not with the misfiring form that Dortmund's offense is in right now. By the way, that was Kane's 25th goal in Europe now for Spurs, meaning he's Tottenham's all-time top scorer in European competitions, as he passes the legend, Jermaine Defoe. What a player Kane is, honestly. Still only 25 years old. Respect. Oh, it's hot behind these lights, man. So, despite some domestic difficulties lately for Spurs, they look like they're great value in the Champions League, and with the return of Kane, they're even more dangerous. Replicating a defensive performance like that will be difficult, and as mentioned earlier, Lloris is just as likely to have a shocker as he is to completely stonewall a team, but Spurs made a big statement here. 4-0 on aggregate over the German leaders. Well, joint leaders now, as their form continues to spiral. Okay, let's talk Ajax versus Real Madrid. We'll spend a decent amount of time here because there's just so much to unpack. Grab a drink, folks. Okay, so on Tuesday, Ajax traveled to the Bernabeu to try to turn around a 2-1 deficit from the first match. Real Madrid actually started this match fairly well, their first opportunity falling to, it was Rafa Varane, I believe, but his header smashed off the post. Some trading of possession in midfield occurred until Ajax cut Real Madrid's defense open for the first of many occasions throughout this match, with public enemy number 1 being Dusan Tadic. His layoff was steered home by Hakim Ziyech, and that was just the beginning of Tadic's domination in this match. He was incredible. Probably one of the best midfield performances I've seen in a long time, personally. In fact, French publication L'Equipe gave him a 10 out of 10 for his performance versus Real Madrid, the 9th player in history to achieve this. Why? Just look to the second goal, where Tadic executed a flawless roulette before playing an inch-perfect ball through to David Neres, who calmly waltzed around a stranded Thibaut Courtois and dinked him. From here on out, Ajax were cutting Real Madrid's backline open seemingly at will, but we'll get to that in a moment because there's some other goals to discuss first. Like Ajax's 3rd goal, courtesy of Tadic himself, whose perfectly placed strike found the top corner, leaving Courtois stranded. Now, there was some controversy surrounding this goal, as at one point in the lead-up, it looked as if the ball had gone out. Well, from one angle at least, while another angle shows that the ball hadn't completely gone out, as you can see here, and that's exactly why the goal stood. Let's look at VAR rules for a sec. So, some fans were saying that you can't even use VAR for something like the ball going out, which you can't regularly for just like, is it their throw-in or ours? But you can when a goal is scored. So, VAR was employed correctly. As for the decision though, the referee got it right. VAR couldn't prove definitively that the ball was out. Remember, one angle said it was out, and one angle showed that the ball was in. In reality, the ball may very well have been all the way out, or it may not have been, but if VAR can't prove it definitively, then the decision stands for the goal to count. The referees got it right in this case. They can't call back a goal based on a suspicion. They have to be 100% sure that the ball was actually out in order for them to call back the goal. Madrid's attack finally clicked into gear after that, with Asensio making it 3-1 on the scoreline and 4-3 on aggregate. Again, I can't speak highly enough about Sergio Reguilon, the young Madrid left-back who has wrestled the starting spot from Marcelo. Again, he had his fingerprints all over this goal, playing setup man to Asensio, but then Lasse Schöne whipped an incredible ball to the back post, out of reach for Courtois. Now, I initially thought that Courtois should have saved this, and hey, I'm not a keeper, so it's harder for me to say whether he got his positioning right or wrong when it's this close. But this angle shows just how well hit this free kick was. What a f***ing strike, man. Courtois just couldn't get up quick enough. Maybe a keeper like Oblak, De Gea, or Ter Stegen could have gotten to it, but if that's the standard that we're looking at, then it makes the strike seem even better, in my opinion. So, Ajax smack up Real Madrid 4-1 at home. An incredible performance from the whole team. From Onana, what's my name, all the way up to Neres up front. And it could have been worse for Madrid, as Ziyech missed the easiest chance of the match from 6 yards out. But, as I said earlier, the ease in which Ajax cut Madrid's defense open, seemingly at will, makes Sergio Ramos look a bit like an idiot on this occasion. If I was a Madrid fan, I'd be pissed at him. The arrogance of thinking that you can take the next match off because you think, well, no matter who we face in the quarterfinals, I can afford to miss a match against Ajax far more than against a mystery opponent in the quarterfinals. You know, the arrogance of him looks even worse when you consider Real Madrid's 3 previous Champions League matches without Ramos in defense. A 3-1 loss to Juve last season, a 1-0 loss to Cesca this season, and a 3-0 loss to Cesca this season. And yet he still thought it was a solid plan to miss the return leg against Ajax. Well, I mean, at least he got some good emotional footage of himself watching from his private box for his upcoming documentary, and the Ajax fans did their best to cheer him up. And if I may, let's quickly blast through a few interesting stats I found from this match. First off, Ajax had 8 players, 22 or under, feature in this match, 6 of which were on from the start of the match. For the first time in history, Real Madrid conceded 2 goals in the first 18 minutes of a Champions League match at the Bernabeu. And finally, on the topic of money and financial power, Mark Overmars said prior to this match, quote, "Our wage budget for the first, second, and youth team is 28 million. That's as much as Gareth Bale earns in a year. What Real Madrid pays for one player is used for our entire squad." So, the holders are out, and good luck to Ajax the rest of the way. I personally will be watching them closely, as will a lot of neutrals, I'm sure. Fun team to watch, and I wouldn't relish being drawn against them at this point. Now, Wednesday's matches provided some excitement as well, including some late drama in both matches, as well as a helpful serving of controversy. First, United versus PSG. This was United's second stringers in a lot of cases, versus what was as close to PSG's first team as you can get, at least once the substitutions were made. But just listen to this. These are the players that were missing for United. Pogba, suspension, and then the rest are injuries. Ander Herrera, Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, Juan Mata, Nemanja Matic, Alexis Sanchez, and Antonio Valencia. Surely PSG could handle this United team, even without Neymar and with Cavani starting on the bench. No? Now, here's a couple of things to consider going into this discussion about the PSG versus United match, or perhaps a little bit of a theme to keep in mind. An accumulation of little mistakes, both in offense and in defense from PSG. They creeped in everywhere, and that was yet again what got them out of the competition at the round of 16 stage for the 3rd season in a row. Buffon was an incredible keeper in his career. He still can be at times, but he's also 41. He's also pretty much PSG's second string keeper this season, besides in the Champions League, where he's gotten the lion's share of the starts. 5 to Areola's 3. And in some regards, I get why Tuchel did it. I get why he started Buffon. He wanted the experience of Buffon in there to organize the defense and ensure United wouldn't find a way back into this game, but he's not the same Buffon. He's still a great keeper, but he's not the same Buffon. I think the first error on the day was starting Buffon ahead of Areola, who has been pretty damn good this season, in my opinion. And PSG's defense wasn't what it could be, with an extremely nervous-looking Thilo Kehrer in there. And PSG conceded 2 goals from monumental mistakes. The first massive f***off error was a shambolic mix of a back pass and a squared ball to Thiago Silva, which the mega-informed Romelu Lukaku was able to take around Buffon and finish. A finish he would have missed 4 months ago, by the way. when his confidence was absolutely on the floor. Just look at what man management can do. Mbappe squared for Bernat 10 minutes later to make it 1-1, and to be honest, had Bernat hit another opportunity first time that he had after, it may have been 2-1 at that point. But again, a small detail of an error that led to the downfall of PSG, and which set the stage for massive off error number 2 from PSG. Rashford slapped a pretty innocuous strike towards goal that on another day Gigi Buffon would collect pretty easily, or maybe in another year, I should say. But the juju was against PSG in this one, and the football gods were with United, and Lukaku cleaned up the rebound for a brace. Make that 3 consecutive matches that Lukaku has scored a brace. This one wasn't as pretty as the others, but at least he's finishing these opportunities now, right? And now we have a game of a completely different nature. Now we have a mental game. We have United with tons of belief and none of the ball, really, and we have PSG with all of the ball and a bit of doubt starting to creep in. Di Maria scored a beautiful goal, which was brought back for offside. Mbappe slipped when he was one-on-one with De Gea, and again, on another day, that ball's in the back of the net. Mbappe wouldn't miss from there, typically. All these things adding up. There were opportunities there to win the match, opportunities that PSG didn't take, and we roll on to the 89th minute when Diogo Dalot's strike hit Presnel Kimpembe on the elbow as he jumped to block the shot. Do I think it was a penalty? It's a weak one, that's for sure, as there was clearly no intent and it looked like ball to hand, or elbow in this case. It looked like ball to elbow to me. Let me put it this way. If there were varying degrees of handballs for penalties, if there was a spectrum for it, then this would be right at the very, very end on the weak side. But it was given, Rashford converts it, and United go through. And it was an extremely harsh way for PSG to go out, right at the death like that. But as I said before, they can't play the victim too much in this case. You guys get to play it a little bit, but not too much, as the opportunities were there to put Manchester United in the dirt, and PSG didn't take them. Kara's back pass was a gift to United. Buffon spilling the second was a gift to United. And then you leave your fate up to the referee to interpret at the end, and it doesn't go in your favor. You don't take your chances in football, and the game will punish you. It's an extremely harsh sport, and we'll get into it further with our next match. But credit to United for the performance. They were fearless on the day, and with all that youth to come through on the other side, it's pretty admirable. FC Porto versus AS Roma at the Dragao, and this was a decent match. The matches this week were all pretty decent, to be honest, but for Porto, they needed a goal early, and they got it in the 25th minute when Marega went full hero and won the ball in midfield. Corona rolled the ball wide back to Marega, who squared to Suarez, and he made no mistake. 1-0, 2-2 on aggregate, but 10 minutes later, and Eder Militão gave away a penalty that was frankly, no doubt about it, and Daniele De Rossi slotted the penalty, his 60th appearance in the competition. Porto had opportunities in the second half to bring it back, with Suarez heading over, Marega dragging a shot wide, but you can't keep the man down forever, as he finished off a beautiful cross from Corona to force extra time. 3-3 on aggregate, the exact same score as the first, and we'll fast forward to the second half, when Edin Dzeko had an opportunity to win it for Roma, but Pepe got back to stop what was a weak attempt, to be honest, by the big Bosnian. Now, the 113th minute, and Maxi Pereira rips a chasse, that's a shot pass for the uninitiated, that fizzes through the box. Fernando feels a pull at his shirt, and he throws himself down. This one, during the live stream today, really split opinions, though I think most thought that it was a penalty. I could be wrong. I didn't think it was a penalty personally. I think that Porto were the deserving team to go through in the end, but if this is a penalty now, gosh, it sets such a terrible precedent, and I'm scared of the direction we're going in as far as penalties goes. Because if we're calling every shirt pull as a penalty, then a corner kick won't go by without a penalty being given. Though that will never happen, obviously. If you can literally get a pinch of your opponent's shirt, like this was all that he had of him. If that is enough to fool the referee, then you can expect more penalties given like this in the future thanks to VAR. Porto go through, which again, I think they deserve, but again, it's unfortunate circumstances that Roma go out. So I think my final thought of the day to wrap things up is this. Is VAR perfect? No, it's not. In fact, after a study in the Serie A was conducted, they said that VAR was right 90% of the time. That's decent, and that final 10% is where the focus should be on. The introduction of VAR does not mean the introduction of big calls being called perfectly. Ultimately, the final decision comes down to the referee, and different referees will interpret calls in different ways, which is problematic in itself, but will never go away. As long as humans are playing football and officiating the matches, then humans will make human errors. We have to accept that. Are more calls given correctly with VAR? Yes, but should we expect 100% of the calls to be made correctly 100% of the time? No. You'll only set yourself up for disappointment if you think that way. Alright guys, I have blabbed a lot in this one, so good for you if you made it this far. Shout out to the Made It This Far crew, you guys rock. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Haven't decided what I want to do just yet, but you'll hear from me, alright? Thanks for watching, I'm Adrian, and take care.